Item 2 is the approved minutes, and people may wonder what item 1 is, because I never say it, but it's the call to order. Item 2 is approved minutes of August 11th, 2011.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 3, consideration of the United States Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement, City of Franklin, contract number 2011-0128 for the Harpeth River gauging stations for fiscal year 2012.
This is our annual contract, and in fact, this year it is exactly as it was last year, same amount of money. It is a budgeted cost.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 4, consideration of TDOT contract 110291, City of Franklin contract number 2011-0129 for the Franklin ITS Infrastructure Expansion Project.
This is the next step in expanding the ITS, and my understanding, when we get through this, we'll have all of our signals connected. It is an 80-20 match. The city's portion is funded in this year's budget, and the contract is standard TDOT contract. Shauna, city attorney, has looked at it and approved it.
So our obligation is $500,000.
Correct.
Okay.
One thing I'd like to add, Kevin and I had a meeting this morning with Federal Highways, and they were auditing us as kind of pop-up audit on the first phase that's under construction right now, and it went very well, so no reason to think that this project won't go just as smoothly.
Well, it's so great to be able to have a pop-up audit, and you do great. Those are, we have them in healthcare all the time, so it's good to know that you all were prepared.
Yeah, we got the call yesterday.
Cool.
It's 1:30 yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, so went well.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item 5, consideration of amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2011-0057 with Standifer and Associates to include services for the commercial relocations for the Hillsborough Road project. Estimated cost $7,800.
This is, as it says, it's an amendment to the contract professional service agreement we have with Stanford. We did not have included or had not contracted with anyone for the relocation of commercial buildings, which we will have to do for those that we are proposing to purchase. This is a good price, we feel, at $2,600 per commercial relocation. What we've done is included, we know there's going to be 3. We've included in the contract, as presented to you, 5, just in case we run into some other situation where, due to the negotiations we go through for right-of-way, et cetera, that we might need to do some more. It gives us that leeway without having to wait, come back, and get that approved. So with that, the contract is, we're requesting this to be a contract such that it will be not to an exceed amount of $13,000. But that's what it was for. Like I said, we know we have 3. We don't expect at this point to have any more than that, but we would have monies approved for 2 more should it come up that we would have to do it.
So the 7,800
It's 3.
is for 3?
The 7,800 would be 3. We've written the contract to include in 5, which makes it $13,000 versus $7,800. So the caption was, we wrote the caption based on the 3, but we decided we wanted to come forward to you to ask for the 5, where we can keep that going without having a slowdown should something happen. And of course, we won't spend the difference unless we absolutely have to.
Where does the 2,600 come from?
The 2,600, what do you mean, where's it come from?
I mean,
That's what the negotiated cost for the services that we would be, that the consultant would be providing for us is $2,600. He goes per location, yes. And that's for him to go out and help the people with finding a location to move to, doing all the paperwork to inspections for the new place to make sure it is a good place and is fit. It's the same thing we did for the houses where we relocated the people for Rebel Meadows, but this is for commercial. We have to do it for the commercial properties on a roadway like this. We don't have any house relocations, but we do know we have some commercial.
And there are 5 that we know.
We have 3 that we know of. There's 3 that we know of. That's the ones that you've already approved that we're going to buy the whole property for. There's only 2 properties left to do, but there's 2 businesses on one property, so that's 3 commercial relocations. You do it for renters too. So then we're asking that we go on and get approval for up to 5 in case something comes up. And we won't, like I said, we won't spend the difference unless, of course, we do. It will be $2,600 per.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consideration of change order number 1 with Siemens Industry Mobility Division in the amount of $37,650 for the purchase and installation of the Tactics 2.0 software application as part of the TOC 701 project.
My understanding, basically what this boils down to is we need to add some money to our contract where we can upgrade the software that we had put into the project to meet Windows 7.
Correct.
And it's something we have to do to make it all work. Of course, we started the project and we weren't going to be using Windows 7. It was an earlier version, so it's just something that come up. So.
And we're only paying 20% of that.
Right, we would only be paying $7,530.
Okay.
While all this technology is being purchased and or upgraded or changed, is HR getting what they wanted on the front end? We talked about this before.
That's a totally different issue.
thing.
That's in the operating budget, but that process is ongoing in terms of evaluating software packages for a human resources information system.
This is something just.
That'll come to you at a different time, but we're continuing to evaluate a number of different options related to that. And there's sort of a
So
work
you're all
group between
working
HR and finance, payroll, and our IT department to look through those options, and that's ongoing. And we did include, I think, around $100,000 in the budget to help fund that project, not knowing exactly where we would end up and what the right match would be for us. So we're going through all of that.
Good, thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consideration, number 7, consideration for approval to purchase 34 TS-3 DigiPort servers in the amount of $10,484.04 through Insight Public Sector Government Services contract for the Franklin ITS project.
This is something that's been discussed for almost a year now, I guess, as far as we need to be able to get better data transfer.
This
Explain.
particular piece,
Tech.
this particular piece is what allows the network that we're building to communicate with the equipment.
Well, that sounds helpful.
So when you change one little end, you have to change 2
Yes.
other ends. Okay.
And it also includes not just our talk work, but our IT system. So it's a more of a souped up.
It helps the citywide fiber network as
More
well.
universal. I would move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 8, discussion concerning street light installations for city projects.
We wanted to bring this to you because if you recall, there's been a desire to go to LED streetlights. In fact, the board has directed that we do that where practical, I guess is the best way to say it. We have been dealing with the designers of the Hillsborough Road project to look at doing that, to meeting that requirement of trying to go to LED. That project is already designed, or that portion of the project, of course, is already designed. I hope you had time to read the memo. I don't want to try to go through it word for word, but basically what it boils down to is that we're looking at a pretty substantial cost to change out from the high-pressure sodium that is the white light that is asked for in the streetscape projects, to go to LED that would produce the same type light lumens. We could reduce the cost a little bit if we don't worry about the AASHTO recommended lumens, that is the intensity, lowest intensity for any point on the street itself. And the paybacks are getting, to do all that changing gets to be pretty extensive, out to 20 years or so, which is not, economically, it's really not that good of a deal to look at doing. So we wanted to bring it to you. I don't know that we have an approval that we're trying to get. We would like to get some sense that, well, I'll just tell you, my feeling is with the cost, I think we need to just stay with what we have already designed, leave it as is. The technology for LEDs is changing all the time. Costs are coming down. And I think in the future, we'd probably be able to get an LED retrofit into what we're going to be putting in, that will get where we're wanting to go. But right now, with the cost, I think we just need to stay where we are, not incur that cost, and let's get this thing done.
After reading all this, as I understand it, I would recommend that we go with option 1.
Oh, I said high-pressure sodium. It's metal halide lights that we use. I always get it's metal halide lights that we're wanting to use, not high-pressure sodium.
Just keep what we have.
Payback time is simply too long.
Yeah.
Particularly when, in a couple of years or months, who knows, it could be dramatically less expensive to get the same result.
Right.
I appreciate you bringing us the options, but
Yeah.
I can't see rearranging everything and engaging in a 16-year break even. Do you need a decision, or is that sufficient?
That was a motion.
That would be my opinion also. The only thing I'd say to you is if there was a company that wanted to have a test project that they bring somebody in, then you might be able to look at something like that where you could have your cost much less than that. Because LED is there are people who are wanting to have an area to demonstrate.
Well, we have phase 3 of McEwen is going to be LEDs.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a possibility when we actually get to construction. Contractor may, during the process of submittals, they may introduce a different option that they could save us, or
Okay.
introduce it.
So Ms. Martin called her statement a motion.
And I will second her motion.
All in favor of option 1, say
Status
aye.
quo.
Aye.
Aye.
Number 9, status update on stream name revisions in Franklin.
Oh, yeah. We got
Crystal's
Dogwood Branch.
Possibility.
All right.
I think the Barnhill,
You have to be dead.
you have to be dead.
You gotta be dead.
Have a branch
Be
name
dead
there?
5 years.
You gotta be dead, and you gotta be historically significant.
Well, you know,
Well, one of them lets me out, doesn't it?
At least one, Mr. Barnhill.
I do have a name I wanted to bring, and that was, Reverend Scruggs. I think a lot of us in this room probably know him, and at some point he did receive Chamber of Commerce Man of the Year award or something like that. So if that's something, we have an opportunity, if there's an opportunity, I would like to put his name in the hat. Reverend William Scruggs. Most of y'all know him.
But
knew
don't you
him.
have to be gone 5 years? He hadn't been dead 5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Just died last
What
year.
other
We know about it.
criteria?
There will be a process. for
Okay,
that.
well, I didn't know.
All right. Well, by the time we get around to actually approving names, you may have gotten there.
Okay, all right.
We may have
I just want to put that on the record, okay?
another creep by then.
Well, what you have before you is just a status update on a project that city staff has been working on. We brought it to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen back in April, and it's taken quite a few months to endeavor the field verifications that we need to go through in order to determine if the streams are really streams, if they're a wet weather conveyance. Wet weather conveyance is just a very technical term for a ditch.
So you don't have to be dead for a year.
That's a hard
You get a ditch name after you.
I guess there's no process for naming a ditch after yourself.
All right. Okay.
So we can,
Joe,
we can
print
start
up some
with
signs.
Barnhill ditch. To date, we've completed 36 hydrological determinations and 24 have been verified as streams. And you also have a map that shows the locations that staff has been in the last couple of months. Everything highlighted in green is the stream that we've had a determination on. We are almost finished with this process just for the field verification. And the next couple of months, we'll start the process on obtaining ideas from the public and from the board on names for those streets.
And one reason to bring the status to you is this is taking a little longer than what was anticipated on the front end. In fact, thought we would be to you by this time with the naming, the actual namings of some of the streams. So wanted to make sure you're aware of what was going on and why it was taking so long. And it's because Crystal and them are having to do this field verification.
That's right. And it has to be dry for 72 hours. So if it rains, it knocks us out for 72 hours. So back in the springtime, that was a little bit difficult to work around. Here lately, not so much, but except for this past weekend.
Okay, great update.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Number 10, consideration of the amendment to the professional services agreement with Gresham Smith and Partners to complete the update to the standard specifications for the Water Management Department projects in an amount not to exceed $18,000. City of Franklin contract number 2011-14.
And this is just what it says. This is taking a longer time frame to get these specs updated, rewritten, and that is due to city staff actually, because we have so many people involved in getting scheduling and getting it done and getting it back to our consultant for rework. They're out of money. We really do need to finish this project, and this is a negotiated amount that everybody feels is appropriate to complete the project and have the specs ready for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I would ask, on the memo, it says city contract 2010.
No, it's the right contract number. So 10 one place and 11 the other, so. just make sure we got it right when it goes
It's
to the vote.
2011.
Number 11, consideration of the amendment to the professional services agreement with Gresham Smith for the West Main Street Water and Sewer Rehabilitation Project in an amount not to exceed $11,000. City of Franklin contract 2011-63.
What this is we're wanting to submit this project for ARA funding, and we did not have it set up with Gresham Smith when we set up the contract for the design and bid specs, et cetera, to go through that paperwork is required for that. So that's what this is for we can have the proper submission to get ARA funding that's left over, and we're trying to take advantage of that. Everybody remember what ARA is?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's 2010.
2000, okay. Number 12, street project status reports.
Any questions first? I'll just, some of the big things, one project that's not ours, but it's of interest. TDOT will be opening bids on the widening of the widening of McHatcher northeast section next Friday. So expect that to be under construction in a couple months. And that's from Murfreesboro Road all the way around to Franklin Road. So the northeast.
And that's widening.
That's widening, that portion of it. Some of the projects, I guess we've had some pretty good improvement, or not improvement, but I guess seen some significant milestones hit. If you've been out to Nickel Mill since the last time we've met together, they've actually put out curb and gutter, and they've paved most of it. So they've really made that look like a street now. It looks really good, and no reason to think that they will not have the signal in place and everything open for traffic on that front portion there by the Christmas shopping season, which is when they're supposed to be done.
So right now, you still need to make that sort of U-turn to go into Academy Sports?
You can get in, and for I guess a week or two, however long, they had their entrance completely shut down.
Right, I was out there last week.
Now you can get in, you have no problem there. But you can't go beyond that first entrance. They've got that blocked off from there.
And that's middle of October that we expect that signal and everything to be done for that first phase.
First
So a month,
Yeah.
give or take.
So that's our Christmas shopping season.
Yeah.
Great.
McEwen, sorry.
Excuse me. No, you're gonna go down each one, is that what you're gonna do?
I was just gonna hit some of the highlights,
Okay,
but,
all right.
Hit McEwen and
No.
McEwen, Phase 3, they are, same thing, they've put base stone out on probably about half the project, at least from the roundabout end back to turning wheel. Most of the curb and gutter on the outside of the lanes is in. They haven't worked on the median portion of the curb and gutter yet, but once again, you look out there and you're starting to see a road forming out there. They've got the bridges have been in place, backfilled. We could actually drive from one end to the other. Part of it is not on base stone. It's pretty muddy right now, but it's like I said, it's starting to look like a road out through there, and they're making very good progress. Those are probably the two that you see a lot of big progress. Would I say big progress because it went from a dirt field or a kind of a whatever to a real
To
roadway
something.
now. So those are the two that I really wanted to kind of highlight.
Why,
Well,
why is
the other thing
Columbia
highlighted is-
Avenue still on there? Columbia Avenue Streetscape Project, is that not
Trying to close out.
done?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
There was a problem with the streetlights, the wrong ones, had to wait and get them, the right ones, so, and streetlights, I think we've tried to inform y'all, when you start getting streetlights or signal poles, et cetera, you're talking about a long lead time for delivery, so that's what it's about. So, is that enough? Is
Yeah,
that-
that's what we.
I did want to highlight too, the General George Patton, Mallory Station, Duke Drive Mallory Station signals are installed, expected to go on flash. It was
they were supposed
today?
to have a
Been on
inspection, the electrical inspection today. I haven't heard.
I haven't heard from
Well,
them.
they're
Passed or
in,
not.
I saw them.
Yeah, they're in, if they go on flash, typically what we do when we place the signals, when it's all said and done, we place the signals on flash for 7 days. So the anticipation was try to have them activated next Thursday. To be quite honest with you, I'll talk to Eric, and we'll look at that. I'd prefer if they go on flash today, we wait no longer than Wednesday to start operating. It's not a set thing that you have to do 7 days, but that's something we typically try to do. I think we need to back it up if it starts flash today. That way we have Wednesday, Thursday for correcting anything before we get to a Friday, which is a week. We will, I would say never, but never happens. So we will not place a signal in operation on a Friday. And what we're trying to do is avoid any problems and then have weekend major problems. So that's where we are on that. We'll have to look and see if it went on flash
Yeah.
actually
If
today.
it didn't go on flash today, then it'll likely be the middle of the following week.
Val's not here to hear it.
Who? We are the contractor. Once we,
Switchman.
like I said, once the, I guess the electrical has been inspected and approved and Middle Tennessee is energized, then you turn it on and it's ready to go.
I mean, could I turn it on? Turn it on?
If you want to.
Turns it
She wanted
on.
me to switch
You know,
lady.
if you say it's either us or them, who is it?
Well,
Staff.
Today, you better get busy.
It just
It's
depends,
big.
depends on how the contract's set up, but
Yeah.
usually it's that.
You know,
Staff or the contractor.
4:30.
I just haven't heard today, so.
Are there other updates?
I have a question about Third Avenue Extension. A status update. When those properties were purchased at below market fair value?
The-
That's what TDOT's wanting us to go back
We have
and
to verify that.
I mean,
TDOT.
when you have something appraised, don't you have something in writing?
Yes.
And you had something in writing, we had something. in
Oh, some of them are so old that there's no,
Some of them literally are back to the
1800s.
19th century.
yeah.
Those aren't the
Now,
ones we're talking about. The
as
ones
far
acquired
as-
in the last 10 years is what TDOT and Federal Highways are asking us to go back through and verify that it's compliant with the process for the Uniform
And
Act.
so, we've been talking about this now for several weeks. How long does that take?
We're waiting on the appraisals
Yeah,
right
the
now.
appraisal process generally takes a month or so. And then in this case, we've got to do a review appraisal also. That's one of the properties. When did we purchase that? 2 years ago, I think. We purchased it. We did an appraisal, but the federal guidelines or TDOT's regulations are to do an appraisal and a review appraisal. We did not do the second appraisal.
Well, we
So-
had two appraisals. This is the Bobby Moore
Yeah.
property. We had two appraisals. If you remember, we brought an appraisal in. Everybody thought it was too high. Went back and did another appraiser, and ended up higher. We bought the property less than appraised value. Bobby agreed to sell it to us in less than appraised value. We purchased the property. We did not get some paperwork. If it's not purchased at the appraised value or higher, we didn't get some paper. It's just some things as far as,
Red tape.
well, it's a process that you have to follow when it's TDOT or federal highway monies. At
They
the
don't
time we
want, they
did this,
don't
we did
want
not have
people
those.
overpaying good old boys and using their money to do it.
Actually, they're more
Or
concerned.
the other way
about-
around,
I think
we
they
force
were
them to take
underpaid.
Yeah,
less.
they're more concerned about the
Underpaid.
property
I think we
owner
gotta-
being ripped off.
Well, look, here's the deal. It's bought. So now we just follow up and get the paperwork to demonstrate what we paid and why. We're not
Well, we
talking
may
about.
have to pay more money, actually, for
Well,
TDOT to
okay.
approve it.
Well, that
If
seems
we
like
do,
a
we do.
perverse result, but okay.
That's the process that's underway to do those appraisals and get us in line with the federal guidelines.
So we can't get a deal like buying land. If it's
Only
federal dollars.
if the property owner basically says that that's what they're willing to take and they
Do you
got
agree?
Is the owner,
true, but
previous owner, okay with that?
well,
We haven't talked to him until we get the other
We need
appraisal.
the numbers and the information first.
Are there other updates?
No, I guess Pearl did ask last month about some of these coming off.
Yeah, when
There will
once
be,
this list gets smaller.
Yeah, there will be a couple. The TOC software project, it's basically done, so it's been,
Which one is that?
uh,
IT.
Jay.
Jay,
Jay.
yeah. And so that one will come off.
Okay, what about L? Is L what we just talked about?
L is, yes, that's the one that's still going on, and so these other ones will likely stay on for a little while longer.
13, water management project status reports.
Is there any questions? Just remind you, we do have another integrated water resource plan update at work session Tuesday, and this is on the modeling.
Did the rain help things anywhere? The rain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we were out at the raw water reservoir today, and it continues to operate throughout all of this dry weather we've had. We've not pumped from the river until now, from about 4th of July to this last weekend, and we're able to keep our plant online throughout. That would not have happened a year ago, or 2 years ago with the previous reservoir, both in terms of the size of the reservoir and the fact that it's not leaking 2 million gallons a day. So those combined to really put us in a much better place in terms of our ability to continue to operate and provide water to the community.
So we were able to run 2 million gallons through the.
We were losing that, and we were about
We were able-
30 to 40 million gallons less in terms of the size of that,
Because of siltation
the
and whatnot.
reservoir itself. Plus, we did add to the size of the reservoir.
But-
We
but-
raised the spillway a little bit, we deepened the back part a little bit as well.
But the water plant functioned at 2 million gallons a day.
Yes.
Are we hearing anything about odor or smell? I haven't heard anything. I'm just
That issue
wondering.
has dropped off.
Has been taken care of.
Yeah, and that was part of the Mother Nature working through the cycle largely. We did a lot to try to continue to address what we did in the treatment process as best we could. The other thing I will note for you is the byproducts, the treatment byproducts measurements that we do on a quarterly basis. Those new measurements are in, and we're in full compliance with those standards across the whole operation and over the last 12-month period that we were responsible for measuring. So we're in full compliance with those standards at this point.
The other, I would just sort of add one thing too is we have submitted for the NPDES discharge permit update, our reallocation, I guess, is for the wastewater treatment plant that has been sent in. So that permit runs out, I think it's the 1st of November. So we do have that application submitted to TDEC through our consultant.
14, stormwater project status reports.
The two projects that are under construction, Jackson Lake and Liberty Creek, both of those they're moving forward. Jackson Lake, the contractor is working on the culvert that will allow them to cross the creek to get to the church's property where they'll actually do the dewatering. Once they get across the creek there, that's when they'll actually start, that's when you'll actually see the work in the lake, the dredging portion of it. The Liberty Creek project, it's moving along well. Had to relocate a water line, and that was part of the contract. The water line's been relocated, tied in, and I talked to the contractor today, and they're expecting to start with the replacement of the culvert probably early next week. So.
And Liberty Creek is the one also where the EPA grant has been reinstated. Remember, we had the grant, and then we're potentially
reduced, and then it was,
losing the grant. Got it reinstated, and that has been confirmed in the last few weeks that has come back in. So that's and they agreed with us going ahead and awarding the construction contract while that grant process is working through. So we've been able to keep going, and that grant has been reinstated.
That's $120,200.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know whether you can answer this. Joe might have the answer to this, but the problem between Yorktown and Sturbridge, where that water flowed down through those backyards, has that ever been addressed?
Yes,
it has.
Okay.
And fixed.
It has been fixed. Everything is put back in place.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.